Hi, welcome to the MicroLux Workshop. I'm here today to help show you how blades are installed on our 87776 MicroLux scroll saw. I've already attached the yoke. I've already positioned my foot. I've already taken care of aligning my little roller that's part of the foot behind the center of the circle of the table where the lower chuck assembly is. So I've taken care of all the pre-steps before mounting a blade. So to mount a blade, MicroLux offers 3 different premium blades made in Japan, Japanese steel. There is a fine, a medium, and a coarse. And I'm going to put in the coarse one and show you how that's done. The first step to mount the blades is to make sure your unit is not plugged in for safety. And there comes a side cover that you need to remove. Push this button in and slide this forward. And that goes out of the way. And then you'll notice the lower chuck assembly that's inside the housing where sawdust collects. And this is where the sawdust chute goes, and it keeps your cage clean. This is the lower chuck right here. And this is your upper chuck assembly right here. So we need to go back down to the lower chuck assembly and set it first. If you look down inside there, this is going to reciprocate up and down. And I've got the unit set to its slowest speed, so it's counterclockwise on the dial all the way. And I'm going to cycle the unit on and off until that lower chuck assembly reaches the top of its position during the reciprocation stroke. This is where the chuck needs to be initially to install a blade. So I have the lower chuck assembly at the top of its uppermost stroke. I'm going to loosen the elbow knob on this, and then the foot knob. I'm going to bring the foot up. I'm going to tighten it right there, and I'm going to flip this up and out of my way. Now I have full access to the lower chuck. I'm going to take my blade with the teeth pointed downward, and I'm going to insert it into the lower chuck assembly all the way down to the bottom of the channel of the lower chuck assembly. It can't go any lower, but it needs to go that low for installation. A wrench is supplied, a long Allen wrench that you really don't need to put your head down to the side. You can feel that set screw that you noticed earlier. And I'm in it already, and I'm tightening that lower chuck. And it's tightened. Now I'm going to bring my top of the yoke at the elbow back over top towards me. I'm going to remove the upper chuck collar. Set that on my table for the moment. I'm going to loosen the foot a bit. I'm going to start bringing that over that. And then I'm going to rest my upper collar on the blade. And my blade is sticking up high enough now where I'm going to enter the slit in the top of the upper chuck. And I'm going to hold the assembly there for a moment. Tighten the foot. I'm going to take this collar, come back up the blade. The blade is still inside the slit of the upper chuck. I'm going to just snug it down for a second because the next part is important. There's a button on top of the blower system with the blade secure in the bottom and the blade between the slit and the collars installed partially. I'm going to be able to move this button and this whole assembly inside the blower system. You want to push this button down until it engages and touches just the tip of the blade that's inside the slit of the upper collet. I can hear it hitting right there. You don't want to push it further because then this blade's going to bow out like this. You don't want this for installation. The blade is bowed out. I'm pushing it down too far. I want it to just hit and touch the top of that blade inside, and I'm going to tighten this set screw. Okay, the upper chuck is now tight. It's just the shaft is just touching the top of that blade where it should be. We haven't touched the bottom collar at all. We did that before. Now we're going to get ready to test and run the saw. I'm going to slide back on the front door. The scroll saw should be mounted to your workbench. C clamps are provided for that. And we also have wood screws that we provide where you can mount the whole thing permanently to your workbench or to a portable piece of 3/4 inch thick plywood and keep it for portability, and then clamp the plywood to your bench. We also sell a mounting attachment for this, which comes with machine screws. So you can mount it to a movable platform and remove it from that platform if you need bench space. Okay, we're gonna make sure everything's tightened firmly. And now we're gonna start the saw. On and off switch located in the front. Okay, it ran nicely. Now we're going to change the blade. I'm going to put in the fine blade that we sell to accompany this unit. And now that we've installed the blade initially the first time, additional blade changes take like 45 seconds. Okay, we're going to change the blade. We're going to remove this cover again. Set it to the side. Step 2 is we're going to remove this collar and set screw. We're going to loosen it. We're going to hold the top of it down against the top of the blade. Loosen it, and let it come back up slowly. Then we're going to remove that collar. Just set it down there for the moment. We're going to loosen the knobs in the back for the elbow and the foot. So I've got this all loosened now. I've got my locking knobs loose. I'm going to raise up my foot a little bit and lock it back down. I'm going to hold the collar. And I'm going to pivot this all up and off and rest it back there again. Okay, now I'm going to loosen that. Feel for that set screw for the lower chuck, which is I'm already in now. And I'm going to loosen that up. I'm going to pull out my blade. I now have the fine blade that we sell. I'm going to make sure the teeth are going in the right direction because they're going to be pointed down. And they are. I'm going to put it into the lower chuck assembly. Now the key is, once I've set up the unit initially, whenever I go to insert another blade, I take the blade and I put it in the lower collar first, and I put it all the way down to the bottom of the inside of that slit, and I tighten that screw. And now it's held in place. Now I'm going to bring the top part back over. The foot is still raised, so I don't damage the blade in any way. It makes it bow out just a little bit. I've got to take my collar and go back over the top part of the blade. I'm going to make sure that that blade is again sitting inside the slit of the upper chuck assembly. I'm going to just snug up the screw just a little bit. Reposition my foot directly behind the blade. Now I'm going to tighten this back elbow. Now again, here's the key part. I'm going to push down on this until I feel it hit the top of the blade. And then that's right there, and I'm going to tighten that set screw right where it's just in contact with the top part of the blade. It's not bowing the blade. It's not very far away from the blade. It should be just right. And let that go. I'm going to lower my foot down as if it were going to hold down a piece of wood. I'm going to put my sliding door back on. I'm going to plug the unit back in, and then I'll come back and we'll run this blade. So it took about 45 seconds for me to change out my blades. I've got everything tightened now, and we're ready to start. Got the unit on slow. And now that's running really nicely. Okay, so we've run through the instructions for mounting the blade the first time and subsequent mountings of different blades. Initially, it might take just a few minutes for you to get the blade in place correctly, but once you've done it once or twice, it takes less than a minute, 45 seconds. I will point out that I first used the coarse blade and then I went to the fine blade. The fine blade, since it's thinner, it's a thinner piece of metal. You'll notice in the upper and lower chuck the slit that the blade went into. If the slit doesn't reopen enough to take a coarse blade again, because the coarse blade is thicker, you can simply take a flat blade screwdriver, put it in the slit, and give it a slight twist to help it come back open. And really, that's everything you need to know about mounting saw blades in the MicroLux scroll saw. As a reminder, we have the coarse that I installed first, the fine that I installed second, and we also have a medium blade in the premium blades for this saw. One other point, some of you may have taken notice during the video. This is an anti-vibration pad that we sell. I put it underneath, and that dampened all of the vibration that the table was shaking. You can use it with the table saw, the scroll saws. Many units that we sell should have an anti-vibration pad underneath it. So thanks for coming by.